Late in the evening, Abigail practices ballet in an empty theater. Meanwhile, a group of criminals prepares for their heist. The hacker shuts down all the security cameras in Abigail's house, and the sniper climbs onto the roof. As Abigail leaves the theater, her driver picks her up, unaware that the criminals have placed a tracker under the car. As soon as the vehicle starts moving, the kidnappers spring into action. The hacker opens the house's doors, allowing 3 of the criminals to sneak into Abigail's bedroom and hide behind the furniture. The female criminal realizes they'll be kidnapping a child and protests, as she usually avoids involving kids. However, the others dismiss her concerns and tell her to deal with it. Soon, Abigail arrives home and gets into bed. The criminals seize the moment to strike. One man tries to hold her down, but Abigail stabs his hand with a pencil. The second man steps in, covering her mouth as he restrains her. The first man attempts to punch her, but the woman stops him, insisting they can't hurt a child. She then injects Abigail with a sedative, putting her to sleep. Outside, the rest of the team waits and alerts those inside that a car is approaching. The sniper keeps the incoming vehicle in his sights as the trio hastily stuffs Abigail into a bag and sneaks out through a window. As they cross the garden and regroup with the sniper, the alarms go off, forcing them to run. Fortunately, the last 2 criminals arrive just in time, picking them up and escaping without further issues. During the ride, they check Abigail's pulse to ensure she's all right and blindfold her, approaching a traffic jam. The hacker instructs the driver to take an alternate route. The driver makes a sudden turn, hiding the van behind a large truck. Eventually, they reach their destination, an old abandoned mansion outside the city. There, they meet Lambert, the man who hired them. After they handcuff Abigail to a bed, Lambert reminds the group of the rules. No sharing names or backstories, and no getting naughty among themselves. It's a 24-hour job. They must babysit Abigail until her wealthy father sends the $50 million. Lambert doesn't disclose who her father is, but he collects everyone's phones to prevent tracking. Before leaving, Lambert assigns each team member a code name inspired by the Rat Pack. Afterward, the team starts indulging in all the drinks in the house. Joey refuses to share a candy with Dean, who pretends to be clever and tries to guess everyone's backstory but fails. When Joey mocks him, the others bet some money to see if she can do better. By reading their body language, clothes, and personalities, she guesses correctly. Frank used to be a detective. Peter is a dim-witted mob enforcer. The hacker Sammy comes from money and is doing this for fun. Rickles is a former Marine sniper, and Dean is a sociopath driver. In return, Frank deduces that Joey is a recovering addict. Joey then checks on Abigail, who complains that the blindfold is too tight. Joey covers her face and removes the blindfold, noticing that the handcuffs are hurting her, so she recuffs her hands in front. As Abigail cries, Joey reassures her that they won't hurt her and only want the money, making a pinky promise to comfort her. Joey shares that she has a son, and Abigail responds by telling her that they made a mistake because her father doesn't care about her. As Joey is about to leave, Abigail apologizes for what's going to happen to her. Worried, Joey rejoins the group and tells Frank that Abigail's father might be a violent man. Frank dismisses it as Abigail trying to make Joey feel bad, but once everyone is distracted, he goes to check on the child. He's shocked to see her without the blindfold and immediately covers his face, pointing his gun at her until she swears she didn't see him. Pressing her, Frank finally gets her to reveal that her father is Christophe Lazar. Freaking out, Frank runs back to the group and announces that he's leaving. The others demand an explanation, and Frank reveals that the girl is Christophe Lazar's daughter, a very dangerous and powerful crime boss. Joey and Rickles also recognize the name and share Frank's concern. An argument ensues on how to proceed, but they eventually decide to stay to get the money, which they can later use to escape and start a new life far away. They agree to keep an eye on the perimeter and keep all doors closed. Later, Joey is looking around the house, following a noise that turns out to be an open window. While fully opening it to stop the noise, she notices an old statue of a father and his child. She then bumps into Rickles, who tries to flirt with her and fails. He mentions that he doesn't trust the others, and they agree to watch each other's backs. Meanwhile, Sammy finds a room with a TV and is suddenly startled by a presence behind her. But it's just Dean playing a prank. He has the nerve to flirt with Sammy, who furiously kicks him out. Dean then finds a sleeping Peter and draws a man's member on his face. He continues wandering around the house and enters a dark corridor lined with old pictures, including one of a girl who looks a lot like Abigail. Next, he goes to the basement kitchen, where a door opens by itself. Confused, he enters the room and is startled by a rat. As he tries to leave, an unseen presence suddenly grabs him by the legs and pulls him back. Sammy hears his screams and rushes to the basement, where she finds Dean sitting at the table, looking shaken. When she tries to approach him, Dean's head falls off, causing Sammy to scream and then vomit. Soon, the others arrive in the basement, agreeing that Sammy doesn't have the strength to decapitate someone. The scene reminds them of the stories about Lazar's infamous hitman, Valdez. Several years ago, 3 top members of Lazar's gang were captured by the FBI. The night before their trial, they were kept hidden on the top floor of a hotel with agents guarding every corner. The next morning, the FBI stormed in to find their bodies decapitated and devoid of organs. There was no way in or out of the room except for the door on the 23rd floor. Growing increasingly worried, they decide to check on Abigail and find her still in the room. Rickles, terrified of Valdez, insists on leaving, but when he opens the front door, they're shocked to discover another barred gate. Peter tries to push it open to no avail, triggering a security system that seals all the windows, trapping the group inside. Joey concludes that this is a trap, and Rickles rushes to check on his weapon, only to find it missing. Joey hastens to Abigail and asks if she's seen anyone else besides her and Frank, but Abigail swears she hasn't. She also reveals that Frank threatened her, claimed to work for her dad, and mentioned his real name was Valdez. Afterward, Joey meets with Rickles, and they share what they know, realizing that things don't add up. They agree to look for a way out, but as Joey tries to leave the room, she hears a noise. Rickles is standing awkwardly, and when she goes to check on him, she's horrified to discover he's been severely injured. His lifeless body collapses into her arms, and she gently lays him down before rushing downstairs. A furious Joey aims her gun at Frank, accusing him of being Valdez and killing Rickles. Frank pulls out his gun too, insisting that Joey is letting Abigail manipulate her. He orders Peter to do something about Abigail, so Peter goes to the room to kill her. Just as he's about to shoot, Joey arrives and quickly disarms him. Sammy and Frank also rush in, leading to a heated argument. Meanwhile, Abigail easily removes the handcuffs and stands up, revealing her true nature. With a ballet move, she's actually a vampire. Abigail leaps onto Peter and is about to bite him, but Frank shoots her down. To everyone's shock, Abigail sits up as the wound heals itself. Joey shoots her too, but it's clear bullets are ineffective, so they run and lock the door. The group discusses their next move, realizing Abigail was Valdez all along. They find themselves trapped, as all the doors are equipped with magnetically sealed locks and 2-inch thick shutters that can't be broken, and Sammy lacks the equipment to hack them. Tensions rise, and when Peter asks them to slow down, Frank grabs him by the neck, threatening him into silence. Ultimately, Frank and Joey grab pool sticks to make steaks while Sammy searches for garlic in the kitchen. Joey remains skeptical, believing that killing Abigail would only anger her father further. Once prepared, the trio rushes back into Abigail's room, only to find it empty. Suddenly, they hear music coming from another room. They enter to find Abigail dancing with Dean's body. At first, she pretends to be a sweet girl, but when Sammy attacks, Abigail lunges at her and sniffs the garlic, which proves ineffective. Frank is pushed aside when he tries to intervene, but Peter manages to pick her up. However, Abigail easily throws him to the ground and takes the cross from his necklace, using it to strike his chest and make him bleed, confirming that crosses don't affect her either. Next, Frank tries to stab Abigail from behind, but she quickly disarms him and stabs his leg instead. Giving up, the trio retreats downstairs, where Joey tends to their wounds. She reminds them that the injection worked when they kidnapped Abigail, and they still have a spare syringe. They agree to split up. Whoever finds the girl first must inform Joey through their earpieces so she can surprise Abigail with the syringe. The group starts searching the house. Sammy takes a dirty corridor and is startled by a swarm of bats, causing her to fall into a pool filled with rotting bodies. She screams in horror and has to crawl over the corpses to get out. Meanwhile, Abigail surprises Peter, who flees in fear and locks a door behind him. However, Abigail breaks through and chases him with graceful ballet moves. Peter runs as fast as he can until Frank suddenly opens a door, hitting Peter and causing him to fall off the railing. Abigail then chases Frank, pushing him down the stairs before sitting on him. Joey seizes the opportunity to try and inject Abigail, but Abigail swats her hand, sending the syringe flying through a locked gate. Sammy grabs Abigail and pulls her away, only for the child to retaliate by biting her arm. Abigail then grabs Frank by the leg and starts to fly, but Peter suddenly tackles her, making her drop Frank. Peter holds Abigail down while Joey retrieves the syringe and quickly injects the sedative into Abigail. The child makes serious threats and calls Joey awful names before passing out. Sammy freaks out, wondering if she'll transform because of the bite. Moments later, Abigail wakes up locked in an elevator. Joey tells her that if she reveals how to get out, they'll let her go. Instead, Abigail confesses that she planned everything and that Lambert works for her. She even knows all their real names and backstories. Sammy started her career by siphoning money from a rich parent's bank account and eventually targeted a particular big fish. Peter served as muscle for a crime family and stole from his crew. Frank infiltrated a crime family while working as a detective and ended up enjoying the illegal life. Joey is a former army medic who was fired for becoming addicted to medication, leaving her son with his bad father to become an underground doctor for some very shady people. One day, she accidentally killed a gang member while trying to remove a bullet. It turns out everyone here wronged Lazar or his gang in some way, and Joey accuses Abigail of killing her dad's enemies just to make him love her. Abigail didn't kill them as soon as they arrived because she likes playing with her food. She offers that if they let her out, she'll spare 2 of them. Frank suggests killing her, prompting an angry Abigail to change the offer to saving only the one who releases her. Peter quickly takes out his gun, and Joey and Frank do the same, insisting that Abigail is lying. When Peter attempts to free her anyway, Joey shoots him. The group leaves except for Frank, who volunteers to keep guard. Once alone, Frank tells Abigail he'll let her go if she tells him how to get out of the house. Abigail reveals that he must pull Agatha Christie's book in the library to open a secret door. Frank thanks her but refuses to release her, so Abigail easily breaks the door, pushes him aside, and dances toward him. At that moment, Joey arrives and breaks wooden planks off a window, letting sunlight in. The light instantly burns off Abigail's hand, and she runs to hide in the shadows to regrow it while Joey and Frank run away. The entire group makes it to the library and stays under the sunlight streaming through the high window Joey opened earlier. Nothing happens to Sammy, so she's relieved, thinking she won't turn. Frank pulls the book Abigail mentioned, but nothing happens because she lied. While he throws a tantrum, Joey tries to break down the wall to no avail. She's run out of candy and is becoming very anxious. Joey explains to Sammy that she left her son to get clean and planned to use the money from this job to go back to him and start over as a reset. Hearing this word gives Sammy an idea. If they can find the power source, she can short the locks. The team splits into two and searches the house. Suddenly, Abigail plays music again and takes control of Sammy thanks to the bite. Sammy quickly transforms into a vampire and attacks Peter, biting his neck. Abigail speaks to him through Sammy while she continues to feed and kills him. Then Abigail has fun making Sammy dance as she does. Eventually, Joey and Frank arrive, so Sammy keeps her face hidden. However, the others are suspicious, and Sammy reveals her transformation. The duo immediately runs away, with Sammy chasing after them. They make it to the library, where Abigail uses Sammy's voice to explain she hates that room because it's where her father turned her. Joey grabs a tray and reflects the sunlight on it, causing Sammy's body to explode. At that moment, a secret door opens. Although Joey and Frank think it's a trap, they decide to go through it anyway. After navigating a corridor, they find the mansion's control room and Lambert, who is also a vampire. Lambert grabs Joey by the neck and explains everything. Abigail turned him 2 years ago when she found out he helped Frank infiltrate the gang. She also threatened his family, and now all he does is bring her father's enemies here so she can play. He's already notified Lazar about the situation, and he's on his way to the mansion. Lambert wants to kill both Abigail and her dad, so he offers to turn Frank if he promises to help. Frank agrees, so Lambert knocks Joey out and bites Frank. Next, Lambert makes Frank drink his blood, and Joey wakes up to watch Frank painfully transform into a vampire. Afterward, Lambert tells Frank to feed on Joey, but Frank stabs him with a stake instead, causing Lambert to explode. At that moment, Abigail arrives and tries to attack, but Frank overpowers her and drinks her blood. Joey uses the chance to reach the control panel and deactivates the security measures. She also retrieves her phone. When she runs down the secret corridor, the exit is locked. While Frank finishes feeding on Abigail and drops her body, Joey calls her son and leaves a heartfelt message in his voicemail. Frank finds her and immediately pushes her back into the library, where he starts throwing her around, smashing her against the furniture. Joey tries to defend herself, but her punches do nothing to a vampire. Then he grabs her by the neck and throws her down, but Abigail catches her just in time. Abigail explains she's too weak to defeat him alone and begs Joey to help her kill Frank, promising to let her go if she does so she can see her son again. Frank approaches them, and the girls team up to start fighting him. But no matter how hard they try, he's clearly stronger than both of them combined. After he knocks down Abigail, he stabs Joey in the shoulder with the stake and pins her to a pillar. Then he goes back to fighting Abigail, biting her again as the girl raises her pinky to remind Joey of their promise. Once Abigail is down, Frank takes Joey off the stake and bites her neck before throwing her on the floor. When she wakes up, Frank uses his vampire powers to force her to pick up the stake and go after Abigail. However, Joey is pretending, so she turns around and pushes Frank, giving Abigail the chance to jump on him. She fights him again, explaining that the powers take a while to fully develop, so he can't control or transform Joey yet. While they're distracted, Joey retrieves the stake and pulls Frank down. Then she and Abigail team up to stab him, causing him to explode. Afterward, Joey is worried that she may transform too, but Abigail confirms it won't happen because Frank is dead. As promised, Abigail lets Joey go and tells her to find her son. Suddenly, someone grabs Joey's shoulder. It's Abigail's father, Lazar, who says he has had many names through the years. He wants to kill Joey, but Abigail comes to her defense, saying Joey saved her life and was there for her when he wasn't. Lazar kisses Joey's hand in thanks and lets her go. Joey rushes back to the van and discovers she still has a lollipop left, so she eats it while driving away.